The design concept of the building is to concentrate on the essentials. When we visited the site for the first time, we stood in front of an industrial complex, which included not only this building that we're looking at, but also a series of warehouses that extend beyond the building. So all we found here was, let's say, a carcass, including this building here. In other words, it had a roof, it had exterior walls, but it didn't really have an interior. We didn't know from the outset which of the buildings would be preserved. It turned out that only a central part of the building could be retained for technical and functional reasons, including the building's own functionality. We were faced with a rehabilitation problem, and we went in search of solutions. Naturally, the technique that was originally used for the walls was an old lime plastering technique. This had deteriorated over time due to many years of vacancy and lack of building maintenance.
No nosso caso, fizemos o revestimento, não é? Que fizemos a aplicação.
In our case, when we did the cladding application, we analysed the base. On the basis of a technical expert opinion, Sto was able to determine which material would be most suitable.
Indicado para aplicar, a nível de chegar a esse conceito, a nossa
In terms of coming up with a concept based on our experience, we needed a coating which resists cracking. Initially, for structural reasons, we wanted to use a mortar mixture that's compatible with the existing design. We also wanted to minimize the use of cement as much as possible during this refurbishment. So we looked for cement-free materials to properly renovate this old plaster. In addition, we didn't want to use any color. Instead, our aim was to use the facade as visible evidence of the manual process and the traces of the successive layers of mortar and their effect on the mortar itself. The facade should not be perceived as a homogeneous surface, but should represent something that has evolved over time.
No tempo. Después de haber hablado con José Carlos, el arquitecto, y habernos transmitido lo que él...
After speaking to José Carlos, the architect, what his design concept is and what kind of surface he had in mind to harmonize them with the other elements of the facade, we decided in favor of an anti-crack plaster system.
Decidimos ir por un sistema antigrietas.
It's based on organic binders and is 100% cement-free. For the facade surface, we chose the fine Stolit Milano finishing render. This was followed by a glazing technique with Stosil Lazura to achieve the final finish. This created the irregularities that the architect wanted. The new town hall building was limited to approximately 28 meters in width and approximately 220 meters in length. This means that the building's width only measures about 10% of its length.
And
we had to think about how we could utilize the old building that stands behind us here in the much larger and much more complex new building. It's not easy, especially as it was located right in the center of the site, dividing the land into a southern and a northern section.
Uma ala norte, digamos essa extensão.
We understood a considerable part of the ground floor layout at street level as an internal extension of the public space. For this reason, we've left a large open area along the entire length of the building. This offers an 8-meter wide and 100-meter long strip as a public reception area for people. A second strip of the same length forms the service area of the town hall, and the narrow strip behind it serves as a circulation zone for employees.
Ao centro do edifício.
In the center of the large building, we had to redesign the main entrance.
Dentro do edifício existente, tivemos que recriar, no fundo.
The central space serves to separate the circulation.
E aí serviu este
A centrally positioned double staircase and 2 lifts lead to the side rooms in the northern and southern wings of the building.
A escada ao centro e 2 elevadores que nos encaminham, digamos, para as aulas laterais, sul e norte. Para mim é fundamental a resistência dos edifícios.
For me, the resistance of buildings to weathering is fundamental. Behind this is the consideration of sustainability, the ecological footprint, and the amount of carbon dioxide we release into the atmosphere.
Na atmosfera, porque edifício que
A building that stands the test of time in all its properties and in particular with regard to the construction method is a more sustainable building.
sua sustentabilidade passiva desse ponto de vista. Portanto,
It's therefore important to scrutinize the construction methods as we've done here.
fizemos aqui, e isto é visível também.
Our aim was to use the same materials for the facades as for the rest of the building, to preserve its appearance over time as much as possible.
Esse tijolo não é perfeito.
The chosen brick is not perfect, the plaster is not perfect.
Essa proximidade do aspecto
This imperfect appearance of the materials is closer to their aging over the course of time.
da sua oxidação ao tempo, estes objetivos, que é fazer perdurar de uma forma não,
The building has a new design,
ou seja, que nos dê um
an
aspecto
abstract black building modelled on the brick or the old grey facade.
do tijolo ou do cinza da fachada,
It does justice to the natural patina of these materials.
que viva naturalmente destas patines naturais destes materiais.
But every time we work with José Carlos, the architect, it's a challenge. But it's a challenge that is satisfying in the end, because he knows how to communicate his concept to explain what he has in mind. This makes our job much easier.
O relacionamento foi ótimo.
The collaboration was great and serious, thank God.
Stow, que fez acompanhamento.
Stowe provided us with excellent support and assistance we needed to complete the project in line with what was asked of us.
Precisar aquilo que nos foi pedido.
Temos edifício com uma arquitetura muito controlada.
We have a building with a very controlled and very refined architecture, which is like a vehicle for which kind of architecture we stand for,
Pensamento que temos sobre a arquitetura, que é ter apenas
which is an essentialist architecture, to work with the essentials and nothing more than the essentials, with few resources or only with the absolutely necessary resources and nothing more than is necessary.
o que é necessário.